Well, it's good to see you guys. Certainly, what I saw from the guys yesterday, I was impressed with by the energy and the connection that the unit played with. I thought they were really battling for one another, and it showed. I thought Randy Gregory's interception was the play that it might have captured that for me in such a good spot because of the energy on the sideline. I'm sure you guys felt that too. I was literally hundreds of feet away in the press box, and it felt like I was right there with him because of the energy that was there. And the interception was badass, there's no doubt about it, but I would say it might have been any cool play that he made, that the energy would have been there, just, for him being out for 4 weeks, and the sideline went big for him. And we missed him, for 4 games. So to have him back, it was a great welcome back moment. And so I thought that was one of the things I was certainly impressed with, about the energy the guys brought with. And going into it, we knew it was going to be a division game and battle hard and go down to the end, and it definitely did. So what I had hit with the guys earlier in the week was kind of 2 things: persistence and consistency, and having both of those. And so the persistent part was that us rolling in hard and playing the way and the style that we want, but we wanted to make consistent part of that. And how do we do that with less mistakes and still keep an aggressive edge to how you want to play, because you don't want to just be so wide open that you're making mistakes or missing tackles. So I was like, we can have both and do it correctly. And so that was really kind of the message that we had for the week. But more than anything, man, I was just impressed by the energy and their connection to one another, and getting our chance to have a few takeaways go our way to give it back to the offense. So that was a big part of it. Man, are we back with the sun again? I love this. All right, next Monday we are changing the venue.
On that interception by Randy, he called back to the New England game. I think he was referring to where cut blocks were a real emphasis in practice, and you're diving at guys with the helmet on and all that. To you, is that clinic type tape the way that he played that particular cut block?
We have some fun as coaches, because sometimes when the guys make some of these remarkable plays, you'll hear us say on the headset, "Man, good job, so-and-so," like AD or somebody, knowing like it had nothing to do with us. It was just, ridiculous athleticism and making good plays. But I think what we try to do in those moments, whether it was like in that example of, trying to cut a player, like we don't do that in practice. So we're trying to like simulate something to say, if you can get your defeat the cut block and get your hands up, you'll have a chance, to tip a ball or to make a play. So that was kind of the genesis of, where some of those drills took place. But at the end of the day, it was certainly, the player making it. But yeah, that's in the individual, time at practice. That's where you have to like try to create some drills for the guys. Hey, this moment's going to come up, and this is how we want you to handle it. Is it okay if I step back a bit? You guys okay with that?
Usually, this time of year, football's a war of attrition, and you're usually trying to work through injuries. You're getting impact players back for the stretch run. Have you ever been in this position before where you're getting these key guys back late, and how does that build or even add to the momentum that you've established in their absence?
Well, I think, hopefully, Dono, he's the next one to, hopefully get back into the mix here. But I think what it does when you have this connection and there's some chemistry and momentum that goes along with that, the more that you play and you get reps and you're doing it at practice, it just tends to carry over into the game. So having that time together on the field, in the meeting rooms, and certainly in the games is where it really comes to life. That's a big piece of it. And I don't know if there's been a team that I've been with that's had the guys coming back this time. Like you said, there's some times where you miss it, but having the advantage of the IR rules have changed. I think that's a big factor compared to where we've all covered the NFL for years now, where, remember, it was early on, it was like 1 player or 2 player and you'd fight it to go out. So the rules of the game and how the front office and Mike and all the guys have to navigate that's really been a factor in this, to have guys come back, and I think it's good for the league.
Going back to Randy's interception, I'm not sure where it was relative to that 2.3 seconds, but how much does that illustrate what you're trying to teach guys about the finish, both disengage and, there were multiple steps to it.
Yeah, and there was. And so I think there has to be, first, a recognition, of what's happening. And so that's his instincts to say, hey, a guy's trying to get me cut so they can throw over the top of my head. So the ability to defeat that and have, all this length that he has to try to make the quarterback throw over him. And I think DA had another hand up to, I don't know if he tipped it or they did it, but just having length, obviously, in moments like that help, because now the windows are bigger and you're able to, affect some throws. So it's part of why we like, guys who have length out on the edges for pass rushing, and the tip balls are a factor in that, but it just helps in a lot of ways when you're out in space.
Offense has kind of been the identity of this franchise for a pretty good number of years now. How much do you think your defense is maybe changing that identity a little bit?
Well, I think one thing that I do know about our team, and I think we talk about phases a lot, offensive and defensive and special teams, but I think right now, and I've been on a lot of teams in my life, I told you at the time, I've been on, I think, over 70 in my life of different teams, and we all have 3 phases, but on this team right now, I don't really see it as that. I kind of see it as one phase because of the way the guys support and have one another's back. And so I think there's a whole crew of people on this team that, look out for one another. There's going to be games where one side's different than the other, and that's just how the matchups go. But at the end of it, I think that's kind of like what's been a pretty cool part of seeing this team grow together, not just seeing it as a defense had this or offense had this, but truly guys pushing one another and challenging one another to see if they can, get to their space and do what we do. So that's kind of been a cool part for me.
How rare is that among the 70 teams that you've been on, that it's not 3 sides, it's one side?
Yeah, I think you'll know when you have it based where you're at from the locker room first. And if you're connected there, that usually happens onto the field. And there's been a couple of examples like that where you just see not just a group of, this position group hanging out together or doing things together, but, a whole group of guys, and seeing, different people pop into meeting rooms who are on the other side of the ball. I had a good conversation about fire match coverage the other night with Schultz. And he's just a curious, person that wants to learn and grow. And so we might have spent 20 minutes together just talking about the technique of what someone does and, well, how would you beat it? And so those little moments across the ball from player to player or coach to coach, they happen a lot in our offense and in our team. Just this morning I was talking with a couple of the offensive coaches on a different concept, and I see players doing it with one another. So that all trickles down, from coaches doing it to players doing it, and that connection back and forth. That's a big piece, but not all teams have it, that's for sure. Because when you do have it, okay, this is something you got to savor. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Growing up, were you a fan of any of the New York football teams?
Absolutely, yeah. So growing up, for me, I grew up probably about 20 miles west of Manhattan, and so I grew up. Kind of my first love of football was in New Jersey and watching the Giants play, growing up. And so that was a team I followed as a kid, So growing up there, it's not a big college football area, in the Northeast. And so pro football, it's Jets and Giants and hoops, and there's hockey, there's everything but college football kind of in that pocket. But that was my team growing up. LT was my favorite player, there's no doubt about it. Had the poster on the wall, the whole thing. So, he was the one, if you were a young kid coming up, their defense was pretty rugged back then. And I certainly admired Bill Parcells and, their style and the attitude that the guys played with. But it was fun to be in a tough NFC East game of one that you'd watched, as a kid growing up all those years. And but it was cool. That's where my first love of the game came from, of those
Parsons can do something that LT did, be Rookie of the Year defensively and defensive Player of the Year?
Wow, that's a good question. I don't know. I guess we'll have 4 more weeks to figure it out. But anytime you're talking about, a guy who just, changed the game so much, it's a cool thing. And so for Micah, we just want him to be the best version of himself. Like he plays in different positions than that. He's an outside linebacker some, a defensive end some, but he's also an inside linebacker more of the time, where we blitz him from off the ball. So back then it was Harry Carson and Gary Reasons and others, and LT and Banks off the edges. So you knew where everybody was going to be most of the time. With this one, we try to put them in different spots and in different ways to find matchups. So it's a different game than it was, then. But for certainly he was my favorite player coming up.
On that note of Micah's usage, how much has your philosophy changed on the opportunities you want to give him now that your defensive line is regaining full strength? Because against the Chargers, it was kind of out of necessity, but he still was effective in his rushing opportunities.
I think I'll maybe even go back a minute just from some teaching that took place. So when I was at the Miami Dolphins, the defensive end there, who was he's a Hall of Fame player, Jason Taylor, was our right end. And you knew where he was going to be, but there was slides and chips and everything you could imagine to him. So lo and behold, David Bowens and Bonnie Holiday and Kevin Carter had some more opportunities because of that. And I think because of Randy and Micah and D-Law and others, sometimes if you're going to try to take one, there might be some advantages for someone else if that comes up. And so I think that's part of learning how to play together with one another and knowing that, hey, here's an overload to this side, and if they want to help to here, we got to make sure we attack over onto this side. So a little bit of, it's not cat and mouse, but not always deploying everyone in the same locations. Just to say, sometimes you want to see a quarterback be able to read a defense, after the ball snap. Is it too high? Is it one high? Is it man-to-man? Is it zone? I think you'd like to do that with the offensive line a little bit. So that's kind of how my vision of defense works, not just from the secondary in disguise, but also on the front end to say, how do you put these specific people in spots to say, is a back going to block this guy, or are they going to chip to help him? So I kind of look at it as like two kinds of different disguises, one with the front seven and another one with the secondary.
What are your impressions on how Mike has handled all this?
You know what? I think for a young guy, it would be challenging for all of us if we were put into that situation. Everybody, man, we love you, rubbing the back and saying all the great things. But here's what I love about him. I got a text this morning, what do we got this week? And so that tells me, that he's down for the challenge and what we got to get done. I said, hey, man, I'm still grading this game, so I'll get back to you. Give me a minute, okay? This is 9:30 in the morning. I'm like, hey, back the F up. So I'll get back to you. But I think that kind of attitude shows that he's willing to go, because it's not so easy to learn pass rush done, send a blitz package at D end and linebacker. And so sometimes it takes us all the way till Saturday, and then we say, man, let's take this out. And sometimes for me, it takes a few weeks of practicing something till I would say it's game ready. And so certainly our package is not, what you saw just, in some of the snaps of those three together. That's not all we have or all we will do, but I'm not going to go so far that the guys can't play fast and aggressive, because I think that's really when we're at our best. But missed tackles were down. That pleased me a bunch. I thought Jordan Lewis, was one that really played a good game. To have 3 missed tackles on a running back as valuable, I think, as Gibson's been to them and what he's done this year, that was a big piece of this, knowing what we could do. And, quarterbacks who's athletic and can move. So they presented a lot of challenges. So that few missed tackles. We worked hard on that part of it to make sure our leverage was right, our communication was right. And so I was pleased with the effort from the guys in that standpoint.
Earlier this season, you were anticipating, what this defense would look like with Randy and D-Law and all those guys came back to join Mike. And you know what a championship defense looks like. Does this have a makings of a championship defense?
I think the versatility makes you think that there's new spaces we can get to. And so I'd say this is probably one of the most versatile groups that I've been around, where, we've got safeties that have different and unique things, linebackers have stuff, tackles that can move from inside to outside. So I love the versatility of it. And if we continue to make progress, then I say then we would have that opportunity. But we got a lot of work to do still as we're going. But I like where we're headed, and I like the versatility of the guys. It was good to get Neville back into it. So here's a guy who got hurt in our second exhibition game when we were at Arizona. It seems like so long ago right now, doesn't it? When you look back. But I could do the second or the third game. And so knowing he was going to make it back at some point, that was kind of the thing. And so being away for him, it wasn't where he wasn't in the meetings. So he made progress by having to watch, which isn't always as easy to do. But he saw other guys he's watched Osa, he watched all these guys for 10, 11, 12 weeks. And so by the time he got ready and back into practice, I think he had real confidence what he could do in the system and in the defense. And I was certainly pleased with his first time out and his physicality. He looked like he had fresh legs and was ready to run. So we played, I think it ended up being 10 D linemen in the game. And so, we were going to bring every person, we had as hard as we could.
Did you think Washington was kind of targeting AB at all at the beginning of the game? And if so, what did you think of the way he responded?
That's a good question. I didn't necessarily feel it was, a specific matchup to go to. So I thought it was just kind of how it ended up playing out to go. At the end, he would like to say, and I'm sure you'll ask him, he'd like to think, okay, when I get my chances at some opportunities, I got to be able to nail those. And so that's what we talked about right after the game. But good news is for him, the consistency part I thought is really spot on there again. And I thought the communication on the back end was the best we've had this year. And again, I was impressed by Jordan run fits, his aggressive nature to go. And it was just a lot of guys who made significant plays in the game. I think the D-line probably stole some of the spotlight based on, an interception and a touchdown. But at the end of it, this was a group that was really connected and made plays for one another. I thought that was, the thing I admired most about this performance. It was a warrior effort for sure, but it wasn't by one person. And to me, the best of the best do it as a whole group, and that's what was cool to see.
Micah and DeMarcus and Randy get a lot of the accolades, and rightfully so, but what are your thoughts on the free agent pickups that you've added? Watkins, Basham, KZ, Neal, I'm probably forgetting a couple in there, Curse, and how important they've been to what you guys have been able to do.
They have been important. I think, in my mind, I think of it, there's about 18 starters, in different roles that we play guys. I'm inside, I'm outside, I'm a safety, I'm this. And then another, 4 or 5 or 6 that have roles on our team, some just on special teams, like a guy like CJ Goodwin. And as you're getting into those roles and how we put people into different spots, I think the best part of our group is the whole pack, and the different things that a guy brings to the table. I'm a first, second down player. I play mostly on third downs. I'm more in, whatever it might be, we kind of have some guys for that role. And I think that's important because as you get through an entire season, you don't play just one offense. There's a lot of offenses that you play. Some feature, big tight ends and extra tackles to come in, and some play wide out and as spread out as you could be. So having that kind of versatility to say, man, we're ready to get it on, however you want to come in and do that, like we're equipped to do that.
The interceptions obviously stand out with Trayvon Diggs, but outside of those, the kind of the splash plays that we all notice, just how do you think he's played this year overall?
Well, I think one, having ball skills like that is a rare thing to see. So anytime you can turn the ball over, that's big. And sometimes it feels like every time it goes up and it goes into the neighborhood, you kind of hold your breath to say, all right, is this another one to go? But he's staying disciplined to not force it. And I think that's an easy thing to do. Can you get another one? You had a couple in a row. Can you get another one where maybe you force something that's not there? And I think he's been disciplined in that space, which is not always easy to do because you can press and try to get another one, and he's just really stayed in the moment. I've certainly been impressed by him on doing that.
Neville's sack, you guys. It seemed like quite the display of strength, and I'm sure for that technique, but what were your impressions of just that sort of interior push from him?
Well, I think that's probably, an example of why I like to rotate players. And so where we can be at our best at the end of the game. And so it wasn't at the end of the game per se on his, but having people that can just keep attacking at a similar speed to go, I thought that's, kind of showed that here's another guy who's fresh and ready to get rocking on his plays. I think he might have played 25 plays, but those ones that he was going. And so it was the next one and the next one. And that's when like the competition starts pushing for one of like, hey, get me back in there, somebody else just got one. And so that's kind of the fun part of the competition. But quite honestly, as a coach, I was happy to see us come back down into the end of the game moment. We had played well all the way until the end at New Orleans, and we let up a long score at the end. And I said, let's make sure when we get our moment to close the door, we can do that. And so lo and behold, we're ahead, and all of a sudden here's 3 minutes left in the game, and it's a one-score game, and can you go close it? And I think that was just, a cool moment to say, we're in this environment again. All right, now we're going to be able to go close it. And so doing that, it just gives you a lot of confidence that you've been in that fight, you've been in that space, and you're able to do it when the time comes. And we're going to be in a lot more of them, in the weeks ahead, that's for sure. All right, you guys have a good one. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
What's up? Good.
Can you start by where you feel you are offensively going into these final 4 games? And I think Mike talked a little bit yesterday coming out of the game about the controlled passing game and improving there. Just where you are specifically on that and just overall offensively?
Yeah, I'd say obviously our season, like any NFL season, has its highs and lows, and started off hot, played really good football, and have had kind of an up and down path here the last few weeks, and so I think it's an awesome opportunity for us to find that smooth spot and then play our best football down the stretch, and I think we got a great opportunity to do that. We just got to kind of get back to working through this thing each and every week, and I think we feel good that we'll find our way.
You didn't expect a dip like this, though, did you, Kellen, these last 3 or 4 games?
Yeah, certainly I think a little bit too much of a dip probably, but I think we got a great opportunity ahead of ourselves. I think we can find our way, feel good about the guys in the room, and feel like we'll figure it out.
Is Dak healthy? Can you call the entire offense since it's been back to the captain?
Yeah, Dak's healthy.
How do you explain, I guess, the dips and his play and accuracy and, not seeing the linebacker, different things?
I think it's just we just got to get back to being more consistent. I think that's the biggest thing. There's a flow to offense, and I think we just got to find our flow and find our rhythm there. I feel like we, each and every week we take a few little pieces that we can grow on, and I think we'll find our way here.
Because you've been mixing and matching personnel, whether it's on the line or receivers, that kind of messed up your flow in terms of the play calling and everything?
Certainly the personnel aspect of it has been, we've been moving a lot this year, certainly on the offensive line as well as even the perimeter, just everyone kind of dealing with injuries and whatnot. And so, I think a lot of that sometimes just goes back to simply being around, practicing together, getting those reps throughout the week. And so when things look good on Thursdays, they look good on Sundays, and we just got to continue to get back to that aspect of it.
You talked a lot, especially early in the season, about the importance of a clean snap exchange. I believe that there are a few times the ball's on the ground, especially early in the game yesterday. Was that a matter of timing, or how do you explain that? How do you fix it?
I think we had 2. Tyler stepped on Dak one time, and then the other time we really the defensive tackle actually touched the ball as Tyler was snapping it, so we were getting a free play out of it. The ball kind of fumbled out, so it kind of looked a little goofy to everyone, and my first reaction was, Tyler, what the heck? But you watch it, the guy actually was like slapping the ball as he was snapping it, and so it kind of fumbled back. But I feel like those guys are working well together. They'll continue to work well.
You and plenty of other people have talked about how Dak is the same guy day after day. When he's going through a stretch like this, is there any added sense of frustration or urgency?
I think naturally all of us, get a little frustrated at times. Everyone wants to perform really well and have a ton of success. You go through things like this, but I think the biggest thing is guys keep coming in with the right approach to kind of clean slate, get back into this thing, keep working, getting better, and I feel like our group's a really, really good group that, if you're going to go through a little bit of a bump, you want to go with these type of guys.
You mentioned slump, and do you believe a quarterback can have a slump? And in your career at any level, were you ever in one? What did you need to get out of it?
Slump, I don't know. I don't know quite the description of slump. So I think sometimes you have better games than others. I think Dak's still doing a great job. We got to play better as a whole group on offense. I got to call it better first and foremost. And so I feel like we got a great opportunity ahead of ourselves.
Does it feel like the challenges he is having are more mental, physical, or a mix?
I think everything's a little bit of a mix for everyone. I think we got certainly some things schematically I feel like I can improve on. I think there's some execution stuff we can all work on, and so we're just working through it.
How did Zeke look yesterday? I know you kept it out for an extended period, but how did he look overall?
Yeah, he looked better. I thought he ran hard. I thought our run game had some clean stuff in there. I thought we took a nice step in the run game. I know it's 4 and 5 yard, 6 yard gains. It's not the fancy stuff that makes highlights, but I think there was a bunch of really clean runs against a team that's been a very predominantly run stopping defense. And so, I like the step that we took in regards to the run game.
Your former teammate Dan Orlovsky wonders why you're not pulling guys more in the run game. You did it 4 times yesterday for 26 yards, and he wondered why you didn't come back to that a little bit more.
No, I think it's fair to say. I think we always like opportunities to get our guys out in space and continue to look at it.
Is that a staple part of your run game, or is that just something that you guys don't believe is a?
I think for most teams, it's usually more of a secondary thing, but obviously there's certain games where it may present itself more. We had a couple, we had CD had 2 of them, kind of in situational calls, and so those were nice ones. CD did a great job with those. Zeke did a great job blocking. It was kind of a little bit of a flavor for the week, and I thought it was a nice little add.
How does he help you complement what you want to do in the run game and kind of getting it out on the edge and exploiting some
CD?
matchups in space?
Yeah. CD obviously just getting him touches, getting him the ball out in space. I think those are the 2 things: getting him the ball, give him space, let him work. It's like similar to a screen where you just try and get him the ball and let him make a play. He's done a tremendous job when he gets the ball out there, and so I thought it was a nice little add for us.
The second one, he took a pretty good shot there by the sidelines. Is that
Yeah.
make you realize, okay, there are running backs and there are receivers for a reason that you don't want to?
Certainly, we're not going to make a living with him back there as a true running back. We got other guys to take care of those things, but felt like with the circumstance of this game, with Tony not being available and whatnot, felt like it gave us an opportunity just to give ourselves a little bit of a different guy back there, just as a change up, and felt like it was a good little wrinkle.
How much does that change what you call without Tony? Because the things that he does that the other backs don't have in their arsenal, and so you call plays that are specific for him.
I think there's certain things in the game plans or things that just Tony's ran for the most part this year. Obviously, a lot of times you fall back on stuff because you only get so many reps during the season, especially in December, and so certain things that Tony has repped throughout the year that maybe as we go, if you can try and get a wrinkle, get someone else involved in it, we can get back to those things. But obviously Tony's been a big part of this.
How did things change for you not having Tyron?
Yeah, we had this a few weeks ago, and so obviously something we'll have to be aware of. Obviously, certain matchups present different challenges for different guys, and so we'll have to see what the matchups are certainly this week and then the coming weeks for whoever's at left tackle. And so if Tyron's back, awesome. Whenever he's ready, let's rock and roll. And whoever goes over there, Terrence, Ty, those guys, I think they've done a nice job when they've been presented that opportunity.
What is the decision you have to make between those 2 guys, and Terrence and Seki, for this week?
Yeah. Just make a decision early in this process. Something we'll probably do early tomorrow. Make a decision and we'll go. But both guys have, when given the opportunity, have done a nice job.
When the offense isn't going as well as you'd like, how is Mike involved with all this? I know he's normally in your guys' offensive meetings and that, but just because he's an offensive background, how has he been able to maybe help you guys in this?
Yeah, Mike's part of the process throughout the week, just like the entire offensive staff, and so I don't think anything drastically changes. He's obviously a big part of us helping the process of game planning and on game day, adjusting throughout the game.
There's going to be, at the start of the game, a lot of, simpler, quicker, easier decisions for Dak as part of the game plan. Is that fair? That was kind of scripted to start the game, to get him in a rhythm?
Yeah, I think anytime rhythm is obviously a key. Trying to get our offense in a rhythm and flow, and get some nice clean rush attempts, get some completions, all that good stuff. We ended with 3 points, kind of got stuck down at the red zone, which can drives me crazy when we get stuck down there a little bit. But I think there's some nice flow in that. We hadn't started off the last few weeks great in the opening drive, and so it was something we wanted to do. So, I can drive myself crazy all day here, overthinking these games and whatnot. But felt like we started the game with a nice little drive, got 3 instead of 7, but got 3. Ended the half with a nice drive. Ultimately got 3 instead of 7, so he ultimately wanted a little bit more points out both of those. But felt like we took some strides in those 2 areas.
It was kind of a strange game for you guys in the red zone, where I think technically you guys got down there 6 times, but you didn't have any goal-to-go situations.
Yeah.
What did you make of just that aspect of the game?
Yeah, it really became a game about the 20 to the 11-yard line, really, before we got into those 10, like you were saying. And so that became the area. We didn't do a good enough job on first down. Got ourselves to 2nd and long, and ultimately didn't convert on 3rd down. And so it's a frustrating one, because we feel good once we get inside the 10. We've handled those really, really well throughout the year, but we got to find a way to get past that high red zone area, get down into the low red zone, and had plenty of good conversations about some things that we can approach differently and feel good about where we're going.
You think you've been much more efficient in the red zone at home than you have been on the red zone on the road, and you don't get too caught up in the road home splits, but
No, that'd be interesting.
But
I would assume that's what the numbers are saying.
think anything of that?
That's a great question. I'm thinking through the process. That'd be a great one to dig on. I like that one. Help me out. Let me tell me what the answers are to that one.
You said you could drive yourself crazy with some of these things. How do you keep yourself from doing that, and what does today look like when you got the win, but your offense wasn't as rhythmic as you wanted it?
Yeah. I'd say obviously you got to enjoy that you won a game in the NFL first and foremost. We did enough to win the game. Second of all, I think we just got to get back to the routine and the process of it, get to a normal routine. Players, we had a little bit extra time just to watch the film today, and so I felt like kind of maybe reevaluate a little bit more right where we're at. I think we got a great opportunity here as we hop in this New York game to kind of launch into these last 4.
What was the play call on the touchdown, and what did you like about the execution?
Amari's. Yeah, did a great job. Play that we've carried really all year, and finally got to that situation there, third down in that window. And Amari did a great job. The biggest thing was he just ran really fast, made them make a decision. Safety played over the top. He was able to beat the middle linebacker. If they covered him, Schultz was going to become probably the next throw. And so felt really good about those guys just executing a play that we feel really comfortable with. We ran a million times since August, and guys did a nice job.
There was a 12-play stretch in the New Orleans game during the fourth quarter where the production was very lackluster. I think the stretch was a bit longer yesterday. In the fourth quarter, finishing, how as a unit can you guys improve in that specific area?
Yeah, we got to do a better job of just sustaining ourselves throughout the second half. And sometimes, we don't have the ball as much or whatnot, but it's simply just converting on third downs. We got to get to the third and manageable. Do really good on first and second down. Sometimes you're in a situation where you want to run the ball and there's a clock aspect to it. But we got to play better on first and second down, get ourselves to third and shorts, and convert those things and extend those drives because there's an element of that you're wanting long drives at that point of the game.
Why has there been such a drop in Schultz's production?
It's a great question. I think we got opportunities. I think he's done a really nice job in the red zone. He shows up in the red zone when we do get in those situations. Dalton's done a nice job. He's grinding it out in the run game. And I think he's a guy that obviously as this season progresses, I feel really good about where he's going.
Is it hard to prepare where you're not going to have time, but there's some questions about Lyle Collins too because of what happened in that ball game? How do you kind of get through that?
We'll just let the process play itself out, and obviously, hopefully LC is with us this week, and we're going, and status quo from that perspective, and if we have to adjust, we'll adjust.
When you guys were really going as a running offense earlier in the year, obviously your backs were healthier, but you also were leaning a lot on your tight ends, 12 personnel, with Jarwin's injury, with Sean McEwen's injury. How has that dynamic of your offense changed?
Yeah, I'd say obviously we've dealt with some injuries there. Sprinkle's done a nice job hopping in there and being able to help a part of that 12 personnel package. I think we tried to go with a little bit of an extra offensive lineman in this game just to give ourselves a little bit more weight over there and help those tight ends because those are tough blocks week in and week out on those defensive ends. And so we'll continue to look at different ways we can still attack in that 12 personnel package because obviously it's a package we like. We feel very comfortable with it as far as the run game and kind of getting north and south on some people and doing a good job there. And so, I felt like this game, again, it wasn't the 10, 12, 14 yarders that you love to see, but I thought there was a bunch of nice 4, 5, 6s that, you view that as an efficient run when you get to 2nd and 5, 2nd and 6, 2nd and 4, you view those as efficient. So hopefully we took a nice little step there.
In times when Dak feels like he's struggling, are you ever able to put on kind of your old quarterback hat and talk to him that way and sort of have a conversation on that level? Or?
I think we're always talking through the game, having conversations where we're at within the game, and I think that's just one of those games we just got to find our rhythm. When you lose it a little bit, which inevitably almost every game you're going to lose the rhythm, you're going to have a 3 and out, you're going to have something that kind of derails you a little bit. We just got to reset ourselves and find our spot, and that's part of the challenge.
The time on the pick six, there's been criticized. Why even call that in that situation? It doesn't seem like it's a safe play, and if nothing's there, Dak just run. How do you
Yeah, we felt good. We've been starting to run the ball. Felt like a play action there, get a first down, and then you can get 3 more downs even if you bleed it out a little bit more. Felt like it was a nice opportunity. We've been running a little bit. They've been kind of collapsing the backside and lost vision of the linebacker, and the guy made a tremendous play and made it. So.
Generally speaking, how do you feel the spacing has been from a receiver corps in terms of just guys understanding where they are relative to their teammates to make Dak's job easier?
I just say anytime we can have time on task, spend time together, the cleaner all that stuff will be. And I think that's the biggest thing, consistency, get our guys together, spend time together, whether it's practice, walkthroughs, meetings. Let's work through some of those things and give ourselves the best opportunity.
I think it was CD's first running back snap of the game. He went out wide on the right side, and Dak was looking that direction, and it looked at a bit of a 2-on-1, and then the linebacker was underneath in zone coverage, and Dak ended up scrambling to the left. Mm-hmm. What did you make of the options there on the right side of the field? Was there enough spacing there for Dak?
Yeah, we just need one. We need a different route by one spot, and then give ourselves a better opportunity just to create a high-low on the corner. Yep.
All right, thanks, Kellen.
All right. Thanks.
Way better in person. Way better.
Diggs getting some punt return opportunities, and you went through several guys in that game. Just talk about moving Diggs back there and just how you're working through that.
Yeah, I'd like to continue to get him some more looks, but it's also a balance on his defensive workload. So we kind of just try to find the right opportunities to get him back there when we can kind of coach him up before he goes out on the field for defense. So he kind of has an idea of the plan if he goes back there right from, 3rd down to 4th down. So it's a little bit of a balancing act with him and CD and said.
Like some of the returners, whether it's been a while, they've been back there, were dancing around a little bit instead of just going. Is that not?
It's a good observation. And part of that yesterday, to be honest with you, we were trying something new, and it backfired. So any of that dancing or stuff where it was a result of my plan. I think we're still working on something that we kind of thought we have discovered, but it's going to take a little bit of time. So perfect observation, 100% true, but that's not on the returners. That's not something we were trying to do that maybe wasn't the best time to do it against their punter, who's really darn good.
I'm guessing you don't want to tell us what it is that you're specifically trying to do.
No, hopefully that if we go big one of these days, I'll tell you what it is. Or else you'll probably find out, but it's nothing fancy or anything. It's just clearly there hasn't been any punt return for touchdowns in the NFL until Chicago did it last night. So I told the guys, every team in the NFL can keep banging their head against a wall, or we can look for different ways to try to create bigger plays. And so we're doing that.
Why do you think that is, that drought across the league?
I think it's because of probably 2 things. Special teams, when it gets later into the season, there's injuries. There's a huge trickle-down effect that affects special teams. And with the amount of COVIDs that are popping up across the league, it's a huge trickle-down effect to special teams because now the backups become starters, but then you're getting guys off practice squad to become immediate players on special teams. And I think it's harder to get 10 guys that can block really good than 10 guys that can cover really good. To be able to sustain blocks and figure out leverage and not commit penalties is hard to do. And that's why I think there's been a little bit of a drought on punt return scoring.
I think Zeke said you told the team, or you said in some context, like, we're just going to get 4 takeaways every week now, or that's the goal. What was the context in which you said that, and how excited were you to see that it happened again?
Yeah, it was awesome. In New Orleans, when Coach was virtual, he had me just put together a tape on Thursday morning of the New Orleans game and just show some takeaways of ourselves and our opponent. So I put it together, and we just said, our goal is going to be, when we talk about complementary football, let's get 4 takeaways and let's score 24 points off those takeaways. And in New Orleans, the defense did a great job of doing that. And then so to follow it up with another 4 takeaway game is just a great formula for victory, I think, for anybody. But to be able to pull it off back-to-back weeks, I think it's probably the reason why we won. If you could pinpoint to anything, it's getting the ball taken away and then the offense producing points off of it. Probably nothing newsworthy there. It's just a matter of doing it and emphasizing it and the guys practicing it.
Well, they were listening when you said it, because I remembered.
Yeah, it's good. They should be listening. we just don't throw stuff against the wall. This is, check it out, guys. This is it. Let's do this. Come on. It's easy for me to say and slow-mo it, but have the intent to do it. It'll work.
You got your week 1 special teams captain back on the field yesterday in Darian Thompson.
Yeah.
You kept him busy as a core guy. What did it mean to have him back, and just in general, his value to you?
Yeah, it meant a lot. I mean, he's just kind of like the quarterback of the special teams, really. He plays our personal protector, which is the quarterback of the punt team. On the opposite side, on punt return, he's the position that's kind of the quarterback of the punt return team. So to have a veteran guy who's very vocal and very locked in, he's just in the front row of the special teams meeting every day. He's got his notepad out. You can just tell guys that are just totally trained and locked in, and he's one of those guys. And we had quite a few guys that took his spot over the past couple months. Noah Brown, Malik Turner. A lot of guys had to fill those positions, and the timing worked out pretty good because right when we lose Noah, now we get DT coming back, and those 2 guys were playing the same spot. So to have him back at that time, we needed him, and he's really valuable for us.
Did you guys dodge a bullet on the running into the punter kicker situation? What's the fine line between running and roughing?
Yeah, I think Washington dodged a bullet because we were inches from getting it. But from my understanding, if you hit the kicking leg, it's running into. If you hit the plant leg, it's roughing. So it was close, man. It was close. Damn.
What determines for you when's the right time to call a fake, either out of punt or field goal formation?
A fake, you said? Yeah, that's a good question. There's a couple variables. One is, if you think you have a really good look by an opponent, there's a lot of times that people don't know that we do call fakes, and we have the ability to kill fakes. So you take the field with a call, hey, this fake is on, but you don't get the right look. We have, vocal or hand gestures that might kill it, which turns it into a punt, and everybody says, oh, you punted it, but actually there was a fake called. Or it could be, unfortunately, sometimes out of desperation. Sometimes if the momentum is turning against your favor and you think maybe we can get one here to kind of reverse the momentum, and sometimes it's just in the normal course of a game, you get the right look and you think this might be a really good time for it. So I think those may be 3 things: momentum, desperation, or just a really good look.
I don't know if this is the 4th thing, probably not because you listed it just now, but when the defense is going the way it's going and the offense is scuffling, does that present more inclination to go for a fake, just to jumpstart the offense, create a shorter field opportunity?
Yeah, that could be part of the momentum, but then you also have to think, well, if the defense is getting tired, let's put the offense back on the field, give our defense a little more rest. And so I don't think there's one perfect answer to your question about the fakes. Over the course of my career, we've used them probably for all situations, and yeah, you like to obviously call them at the right time, but those are probably the reasons for it.
How big is your pocket of fakes, given that you haven't used any, really?
Pretty big, since we haven't used any. Because most of the time we don't weekly invent a new fake. You kind of have a playbook of 3-ish, and then once you use one, you're kind of down to 2, and you might replenish it with another one later. But if you haven't used any, we have a couple in the holster.
So you're just getting more reps in the same type of play, so you'll feel really comfortable in it.
That's a huge part of it. Plus, for the head coach's confidence, the more he sees it, the more different looks we can get against it just week after week. We can kind of tweak it, and we do. So we haven't really, I feel like we haven't really needed one. To say we've called one or not, I can't speak on that, but you like to call it the right time. And in my past, we've called them at the right time, and a couple of times I haven't. And usually when you call them at the right time, they work, and when you don't, they don't.
How often does a fake get killed?
A couple of times a year. More, fake gets killed a lot more than it gets run.
Have there been kills this year?
Maybe not.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right, good to see everybody.